Group by. The group by class groups rows with the same value together. So it divides data into groups so aggregate functions can be calculated for each group separately. Let us see how it works. It first divides the rows into groups. For example, if you see in this table for employees, it is grouping on IT. So it has sorted on IT and it made a group of IT here and it kept it as a IT group. And then for HR is the same way it grouped and it put as a HR group here and for sales as well. So we are grouping here on department. It sorted employee table first and then it put IT into IT bucket, HR into HR bucket and sales into sales bucket. Once that is done, our operation is to average the salary. So the average salary doesn't work on complete table here. Since we are doing the group by, it works on the individual groups, department, IT group, HR group and sales group, and it averages these two for IT and it gives 65,000, and it averaged for HR 50,000 and 55,000 and 52,500 here, and in the same for sales. So the average works on the groups, not on the whole table. So this is how group by works, and it generally works on aggregate functions where you will have calculating averages or count, minimum, maximum, whatever we saw in the previous video. And there is an important rule of group by. Every selected column must be part of the group by. So if you are using department here, if department is in the group by, then only we can have the department in select. If you try to put employee ID or something, then that value will repeat. For example, in IT we have two employees who has 60,000 and 70,000. If we want to show here, we have to show employee ID 1, employee ID 2. So we avoid that. So that's the reason the select, whatever we put in select, should be part of group by, or it should be part of the aggregate function. So either it should be part of group by or it should be part of the aggregate function. So that's how it works. Let us see some of the examples. So let us run our query where I am ordering on department and designation. This has ordered on department first and designation second. So if you see here, finance are all ordered first, HR is ordered next, IT and then sales. Now if we apply a group by, what it does is it will take these two salaries, since it is an average of salary, it will group by finance and then it averages 58,000 and 75,000 and takes the average of these two salaries and put it to the finance. Same way it does for HR, IT and sales. Let us run this query and see. What I am trying to do here is I am grouping by department and it is in my select. Salary I am averaging, so it's part of aggregate function. Let's run this query and see. See here, it has grouped into sales, IT, HR and finance, and it took the salaries in sales department and averaged it, and same with IT, HR and finance. So this is how the group by works. Let us see the total salary by department. Now this is just average, right? So instead of having average here, we are putting sum, and if you see the group by is again department and salary. Since we are operating aggregate function on salary, we can have salary here, and then if I run it, it will calculate the overall salary of sales department, IT department, HR department and finance department. So if we don't include group by here and then run this one, then the sum and remove department, the sum salary will give salary sum of the all salaries in the table. But this is useful when you want to know sum of salaries for individual departments. So that's how group by will be useful. And in the same way we can get the max salary as well. It doesn't change anything here. Only in place of sum we are taking max and it gives the max salary in that department. That's how max salary by department runs. And now we want to know the count of employees who are there in the department, each department. So in sales it says three people are there, and in ID we have three, HR 2 and finance 2. You can go and cross check that too. See, sales 3, ID 3, HR 2 and finance 2. Okay, so that's how it works. And if now we ran this query and we understood that it gives count by department. But if I am interested in knowing how many departments have more than 2 people in that department, so my question will filter out this HR and finance. But how to achieve that one? We cannot use where here, because where runs on the rows, not on the grouped by sets. So for that one, we need to use having. What is having? The having class filters groups created by group by. So where filters on rows, having filters on groups. So let us see how having works. Select department count of as employee count from employees, group by department where count is greater than 2. That's what we try to do here. So if I remove this having here, it gives all departments and its count. But I want to know only those departments whose count are more than 2. So that's the reason I am applying having here. So having works on group by. The column whatever we selected, the field whatever we selected in the group by, on that having works with this aggregate function. So if you see here, so it worked on the count of department. That's how it works. Now let us see departments with average salary greater than 60,000. So you can have any operator on it. We saw it, all the comparison operators earlier, right? So we can have any operators, and then we can run the having by. So having will be always on the aggregate function whatever we have applied, and it results on the group by column. Oops. Yeah. So whatever is greater than 60,000, it has bring in. Let us see if we have any which are less than 60,000. Yeah. And if we don't use this having here, then we will get the combination of both greater than, equal to, and less than. Right? There is no equal to, so we got that. So that's how having works. Right? And then we can also have the summary salaries, total sum of salary, and we can do the having on sum of salary whose salary is greater than. So you can apply in many ways. Having can be used on this aggregate function on salary, which we are working on, and then it works on the department group. So that's how it works. And we can also have multiple aggregate functions working on the same group by column at the same time. So we can have count of star along with sum of the salary. I am asking to get count of employees. It works perfectly because department is part of department, and here sum is aggregate function we can have, and count is an aggregate function we can have. But we cannot have employee ID here. We cannot have employee ID here. If we put employee ID here, then it will not allow. We'll see why. Right? Because employee ID will resolve into multiple. If you see in this query, when I'm grouping with department, if I'm averaging the salary, it is taking 2 of them and averaging it. If I am counting, then it is taking 108 and 109 and saying 2. But if I ask for employee ID, it has to take 108 and 109 and show it as a list. Then that would be same as select star from employees. So that is same results. So that's the reason it will not show. It cannot show multiple records for the same group. But here, if you select employee ID, that's what's going to happen. You have to show 108 and 109 in individual rows. But group by works on single row, right? It gives you one row for one group. That's the reason it doesn't work on this way. But if you want employee ID as well, then you can do this way. Employee ID, and you can add it in the. Now it is allowed because you have it group, so it will group on department and employee ID combination, and it works. Let's take comma here. See, it works like that. Now, if you see, groups are formed in combination of IT and employee ID. Earlier we saw only IT department coming once, right? But here it came twice because it has 2 employees. So that's how it works. So according to your requirement, you can use group by and have it.